Alright, welcome back to the Sim Standard. For many of you, it's been a long time since you've heard my voice on a fresh video. Unfortunately, I've had some family members take ill, which, involved me not only having to obviously step away from the video game analyzation, but I also had to move. And ironically, Rashawn, the bull, now lives about 5 minutes from me, as he moved as well. Kind of an unrelated thing that just fate put together, I suppose. So, watching these videos, reading the comments from afar, I've been able to really see a different perspective of how some people approach the debate of video game football. And I want to go ahead and say I want to use this video kind of as a reiteration of where I've always came from with my channel or with this channel. Now, it's not about perfection in a video game. It's about immersion in a video game. And the thing with immersion is, once you lose it, once you've seen that one really bad play or that one unrealistic play, it's difficult to become re-immersed in the game. In many cases, once it happens to you, you shut the game off, you walk away, you find something more creative to do with your time. When we talk about video games as a whole, when you talk about the Wii, when you talk about the Move, when you talk about the physical interaction we've seen lately with video games, that essentially is an extension of gaming companies making it more prevalent. And when I say it, I'm obviously talking about immersion in video games. It's no longer just holding a controller. It's you physically extending yourself in the game. And you see them market games like golfing as a physical extension. Physically play this course. When we talk about things like, obviously, the recreation of MMA, or we talk about the football camps, those are all physical interactions that are pushed in these games. So, in football, we don't have that. Okay, all we have in football is the physical interactions we have with these animations, and animations have always driven these games. They'll continue to drive these games. Animations is all these games have to dictate outcomes, with the exception of Backbreaker, which, because of its really lack of critical success, has not been a video game that we've been able to use as a staple of where games currently need to be. And obviously, its engine, the Euphoria technology, is fantastic, but it doesn't really stack up on other fronts in terms of core football fundamentals. However, when we look at games like 2K8, which are constantly used, it allows us to have a staple of, okay, this is what this company did, and this is where it at least needs to be matched by EA. So I want to take a look at a few things here. When we talk about immersion in this game, we talk about attention to detail. Detail is important, not only because obviously it gives us a better quality game, but because EA Sports has been using true to detail, true to the Colts, true to this as part of their marketing slogan for this upcoming Madden 12. And to be honest with you, I don't feel Madden is very true to the game at all. I think 2K8 was more true to the game than many people realize, and hopefully can shed some light on that today. I want you to notice Warner's running style here. Okay? It's pretty common running style. I want you to notice, as I point out to you, Greg Laundrie's throwing motion. And these are things that we're going to contrast with Johnny Unitas and Roger Craig and really see how true to the game, how true to the detail 2K was and has been with their games. We look at Laundrie's throwing motion here, Laundrie, however you prefer to say it. He was a Colt. I definitely know who he was. You can see it's a pretty conventional throwing motion. Not a whole lot of extension of the shoulder. And when we look at the timed release, it's actually a pretty quick release. Now, go ahead and take a look at Roger Craig's running style. And again, this is a little bit crude, but again, I think it's also important to note that, this is not something that could have been motion captured. Take a look at the high knees that he's known for, and you see pretty much a stark contrast to what we saw at a Warner. Now when we go back in, we look at a Unitas throw, you're going to see it's different than what we saw from Greg Laundrie. So when we look at the throw of Johnny Unitas, you can see elbow a lot more higher up, extension of the shoulder much more, and the throwing motion is a lot longer. The release took a longer amount of time. And again, these are very subtle things, but add to the immersion of the game. Add, again, to the realism of the game, because animations are all this game can be dictated off of. Alright, so as we have Madden sitting here, I just want to, again, talk about immersion and how quickly it can be lost. And how, obviously, once it's gone, it's gone. Now, a lot of people, like I said, will look at, running animations or throwing animations and say, oh, well, that's nitpicking. A novice fan isn't going to look at that and care. It makes no difference to the game. To me, it does. That detail does matter. Now, I want to show you how quickly, in Madden, you can lose the immersion of this game and how little detail is actually paid attention. When we look at the preseason here, we're going to see the Colts versus the Bengals, and I want you to listen to the commentating of Chris Collinsworth. And certainly we all know how preseason games play out, yet when you have this be the first thing that greets you in this game, to me the immersion is really immediately gone. And like I said, once it's gone, regardless of how great the game is, it's pretty much gone.
Game is brought to you in HD by EA Sports and Madden NFL 11. Welcome to Lucas Oil Stadium in downtown Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm Gus Johnson, along with Chris Collinsworth. Happy to have you alongside to what should be a fantastic football showcase. Who do you see as the key players for this matchup, Chris?
Well, Gus, I've got my eyes on the two quarterbacks in this one. I had a chance to talk to both of these guys, obviously guys that have experience in this situation. They've been here before, and yet it's always so interesting. You can see a different look in their eyes when they're warming up. You know that they know the significance of these matchups, and it just adds another level of excitement to the football game. When you're talking about this kind of talent on the field, this should be a really good one. I know you're excited. I'm excited. Let's get it going.
Interesting, Chris. Great storyline here today, and we'll follow that storyline as this game moves on.
Well, anybody who watched football for a long time or even a short time knows that's not a storyline in this game, because O'Sullivan and Manning in a preseason game, regardless of whether we're talking about 1 or 4, aren't going to see all that much action. So for this game to immediately come out and talk about how interesting it is going to be to see these two quarterbacks play, to me, automatically brings the immersion of the game out. There's just no way you can look at this and say, oh, this game understands what's going on. It clearly doesn't. So I want to go ahead and just take a look at O'Sullivan's throwing motion, hopefully maybe Cedric Benson's running style, and we can go ahead again and focus on the realism this game has.
Was there for the stop.
That's a pretty play, isn't it? Anytime you get
so you can see Cedric Benson, a larger kind of a bruiser back. How he runs with the ball here. Just kind of glides along at O'Sullivan's throw. Pardon the jumpy controls here. You can see first and foremost there's no progression. There's really little reading. I mean, he is looking down the field, but he makes a throw without really looking in that direction. We see the throwing motion here, relatively quick, only because he's throwing to the left and has to twist his whole body over to do so. Alright, so now with Madden, we take a look at Peyton Manning's throwing motion, and it's very similar to O'Sullivan's in terms of speed, in terms of release, and there should be no question that Manning has a faster release than O'Sullivan does. Comparing a guy's running style, you see extremely similar to what Benson had. Just the skating along. The skating has been a theme of how people describe these players running, but certainly, the finesse guy of a die should be slightly different than kind of the more power, aggressive running style of Cedric Benson. And certainly these aren't two guys that have unbelievably distinct running styles in the NFL, but go ahead and try for yourself, you know, your big bruiser like Peyton Hillis, you know, versus maybe your more shifty guy of Adrian Peterson, and see if you can spot the running style changes between the two. Okay, so just, you know, with those small examples, I want to cap this video with a Madden 2009 trailer and ask you a question. Is Madden true to the game, or is Madden true to a moment? Is Madden about replicating simulation through getting unique individual players replicated in their game, or is Madden more consumed with replicating one or two insignificant things, adding into the game, and then touting that as realism? And more importantly, when you're talking about being immersed in a game, what is more important for you to see? Distinction between two players, or replication of 1 in a million play?